and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time watching. My name is Mia and I am the maker behind Knit and Grace. And so today I'm just going to bring you our monthly podcast. I am filming it on a cloudy day. This whole week has been really weird weather and before work. So hopefully, so I changed up my sitting a little bit to be a little closer to the window instead of having it behind me, and I think it looks like it's actually helping the lighting quite a bit, so hopefully you all will be able to see colors a lot better in this direction. But yeah, I've been having some upload issues, so this should be out on Sunday morning, but just in case, sometimes even though I'm filming in advance, I don't know if it's like my computer or my internet or what it is, but sometimes these videos take a while to upload, so hopefully I'm giving it enough time and you're all having a good Monday morning. So yeah, so as normal, I'm going to take you through my FOs, whips, acquisitions, and making plans for the next month. So starting off with what I'm wearing today, I'm wearing the High Desert yoke by Gudrun Johnson, and this was a sweater that I test knit for her, and I used Barocco Ultra Wool Fine for the main body, so this mustardy color, and then the yoke I used a combination of Barocco as well as Farmer's Daughter's fibers. So I'll have the link to my Ravelry page on this pattern so you can see all the details in terms of sizing and needles and all of that. So yeah, so I guess I will jump right into it because these episodes do tend to be a little long, and I'm sure I'll be long-winded as I go along. So I think I mentioned last month that I wanted to finish 2 projects this month, or in my last podcast episode, which did come out a little bit late if I remember, but that I wanted to finish 2 projects, and I was able to finish those. So I think that part of it was definitely the podcast keeping me accountable, and then part of it was just, you know, a mixture of one is a very quick project and the other one was going back to work in the office, so I was able to bang some stuff out on the train. So the one that I actually finished on the train is my Triangular Triangles wrap by Pearl Soho, and so you will have all seen me knit this up quite a few times now, or twice. This is my second time knitting it up, and so this is what it looks like. This is my second time knitting this up, and this one I knit in Kelborn Woolens Andorra, which I think it's like a wool cashmere mohair blend, if I remember correctly, but my Ravelry, the link to my Ravelry post for this will be there, but I didn't make any modifications, just knit the shawl. I think based on the instructions, I should have needed 7 hanks of the Andorra, but I actually only ended up needing 6. I actually didn't even finish the 6th one, so definitely super luxurious, and this is going to my mom. She picked out the color, which is mushroom, and so this is going to be her birthday / Mother's Day gift. I usually try to knit at least one thing for her each year, and her birthday is late April with Mother's Day here in the US being in May, so I usually like to knit her something. So yeah, so I love this. I've talked about how meditative it is. The counting actually helps a lot for me with my anxiety. I knit this on US 5s, which I don't recall how many millimeters that is. And I apologize, I'm like having a bit of allergies here. The weather has been up and down, so the pollen has been a little weird, but So yeah, I knit this on US 5. I'm not sure the millimeters of that. On Kelborn Woolens and Dora, just follow the pattern as is. And it is super soft and squishy. And I'm excited to give this to her. So let's see, I'll just put that down here. The second project that I finished, I actually haven't blocked yet because I wanted to show it on the podcast. So hopefully sometime next week I'll be able to get some finished pictures of this one, because I plan on blocking it this weekend. So this is the Felix cardigan by Amy Christophers, and I knit this in Nutiden in use. Oh, and I actually forgot to weigh it, but I definitely didn't use all 500 grams that I bought. I think I did use almost all 400 of, I think I had just one little ball left of the 400 that I balled up, held double. So yeah, so I used Nutiden, held double. I made the second to last size, so I believe it's the 4th size. And I actually really like it. I have to pick out buttons. It has this really pretty eyelet detail on the yoke. The only thing, and I do plan on making this again, I think it's just such a really easy basic cardigan, and I think like paired with Nutiden, it's actually just perfect. It's so squishy, it's so warm, it's really, really light. I mean, it's only 400 grams. So this is like really, really light. This will be perfect like when I'm traveling. I like to, you know, carry sweaters, and I can probably just put them in like one of my compression cubes, and it's not going to take up tons of extra weight. So I still have to pick out buttons and block it. The only thing that I will say about the next time that I make this, the yoke is a little deep on me. So the fit, actually, I love the ease, but the yoke is a bit deep. And again, the ease on the sleeves itself is also good. It's just really deep. Actually, let's see if I can put this on for you all to see. So you see the ease is actually really nice, and it'll block out, but you can see here, this is the bottom, or I guess this will be better. This is the bottom, and my sleeve is all the way up here, or my armpit is all the way up here. So I think that's easily remedied, because once you finish the increases, if I recall correctly, she has you knit for a number of rows straight without increasing. So I think that next time that I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just skip the extra rows and just go straight from the Raglan Increases straight to split for the sleeves, and that should take care of that. Because actually, if I'll show you, the Raglan Increases are just these eyelets. I'm not sure how well this is showing up in the light. So let me see how could, oh, there we go, a little closer here. So this is where the Raglan Increases stop, and then you keep knitting until here. So I think it's probably like another inch or two. So I think that just omitting that for me will help with the bagginess at the armpits. Again, I don't think it takes anything away from the sweater in terms of wearing it this way. It's actually really nice. I just think that, you know, when your yoke is a little deep, so like this one obviously is ending right perfect. When it's a little deep and you raise your arms, it'll really like raise up your sweater, which with the cardigan doesn't really matter because it's a layering piece. But obviously if you're wearing a sweater or a pullover and your yoke is too deep, then you raise your arms, you could potentially, you know, show things that you don't want to show. So those are my 2 FOs. I haven't been as speedy with my knitting because I did go back to work halfway through the month for my sick leave, so that's definitely slowed my knitting down. Just with the transition back, it's been really tiring, and then also with commuting. Although commuting has helped a little bit with making sure I stay on track on some of my projects, because I do knit on the train. But yeah, those are my 2. Oh, actually I have one more FO, but I'm gonna go ahead and take a sip of my coffee. I am drinking just regular coffee today, oat milk, with oat milk and an oat milk creamer. And I'm just drinking it out of my Jenny the Potter Rhinebeck 2021 mug. Again, I'm not sure, it just got really dark outside, so we'll see. I'm struggling with the light. It's the spring, so here in the Northeast, I think we had like 2 solid weeks of really good spring weather, and then this week has been absolutely frigid and really cold. So that's just the nature of the weather. So my last FO that I have is still knitting related, but it is a sewing project. And so I mentioned in my last podcast, I showed you all the small version of the Firefly Tote that I made from Noodlehead, and so I actually did make the large version, as I mentioned I would. And so this is the finished tote. I think it turned out really nicely, and again, it has that zipper pocket, it has the slip pocket right behind the zipper pocket, and then this right now is holding a project, 8 skeins of yarn, like 8 balls of palette, like this size, plus I think 3 of my needle cases, and I don't even know what else is in there. So it's really roomy, and so it's definitely exactly what I was hoping for when I made it. This is going to be perfect, I think, for when we're traveling, and I can literally just stick all of my knitting in this one bag, and then, you know, in terms of like if I want to take my needles with me or if I have multiple projects, this is going to be perfect for that. So that is this is the back, and then of course it closes with the drawstring. So this is my 3rd FO for the month. And that will lead me to my first whip that I want to show you, which is in here. So I'm going to put this down, which is my Wilderness sweater test. And so in the last podcast, I think I mentioned that I had wanted to try to get through the body on both of my test knits, and that just didn't happen. With going back to work, I think it just ended up being a lot more hectic than I thought it was going to be. And I was put on some major projects. So what I did instead was I wanted to make sure, and this is again like the podcast, just in my own mind holding me accountable, I was like, I want to have some progress on both of these. So I actually finished the yoke on both of these sweaters. And so I'll talk to my April plans, but essentially for the Wilderness, this one's actually due at the end of April. So this one, I just have to knit the body in one sleeve. So that's what my goal is going to be for April. And then my goal for the other test that I'll show you is just to knit through the body. But this is the Wilderness, and it is by Lyrica of Fiber Tales. And I chose to knit this. Let's see if you can see the texture. It's obviously going to block out, but it's a textured yoke. It has like this beautiful herringbone stitch detail. Oh my god, the lighting is so horrible today. I don't know if maybe it's where I'm sitting. I don't think it is, because it seems brighter. But it has a series of wrap stitches, cable stitches, and like a horizontal braid and some herringbone. So it's like really pretty. I will say it did take quite a bit of time to get through the yoke because you are working on fingering weight yarn. It also has this beautiful rolled neck detail. It did take quite a bit of time to get through the yoke because there is a lot of texture, but from here it should be smooth sailing because the rest of it is just stockinette. So this was sort of the first one that I made progress on, and so I will be splitting for the sleeves. And yeah, I'm knitting this in Knit Picks palette in the color Wheat Heather, which was actually one of my acquisitions for the month. Hopefully this crinkling isn't too bad. I'll show you that. And so yeah, I chose Knit Picks palette. I had used it in the past. What did I use this for? I forget. Actually, I think one of the contrast colors in this is Knit Picks palette, but I had used this in the past and I just really enjoyed working with it. And Knit Picks, I think, is really great for affordability, and they really have a really diverse line of yarns. And so, for instance, this is 100% Peruvian Highland wool, and it's just hand wash, dry flat. It's not super wash, it's just completely untreated wool. So I'll show you the color. It's there, it's showing up a bit better back here. I think the closer I get to the camera, things are, just try to block out my eyes so the camera doesn't focus on that. The closer I get to the camera, it seems to be really dark. Let's see. Focus. Oh, that doesn't seem to be too bad. So yeah, so this color's Wheat Heather. It's palette fingering, and so this is 231 yards per 50 grams. And I believe that Lyrica in her sample knitted up in gold. But it is a fingering weight pattern, and I just like this one because, you know, I like to have a mixture of sort of luxury as well as inexpensive yarn, and this yarn, even though it is inexpensive, it doesn't feel cheap. So it is really well made. It's held up really well in the projects that I've knit with it before. So, you know, it's really nice when you can make a sweater for a reasonable price. I think that the total cost of this sweater is going to end up being like $60, which I think is quite reasonable. So that is my first whip and also one of my acquisitions. What are we flashing? Oh, it looks like I need to change out my memory card. I'll be right back. Okay, so I changed out the memory card and I went ahead and changed out the battery as well, just in case, so that we're not interrupted any further and I can kind of bang through the rest of this. So yeah, I mentioned the buildness, and so my plan for the rest of the month is to actually finish the test, which will be finish the body and one of the sleeves. And then my second whip of the month, which I am keeping in the project bag size of the Firefly Tote that I showed you all in the last podcast episode. I've been using it until I give it to my mom. My plan is actually to put the triangular triangles wrap in the tote bag and have the tote bag be essentially the gift bag of the gift. So my second whip is, and this is actually, let me show you, I've actually been keeping my knit kit in here. So this has like all of my little notions. So this has been nice. I've just been picking this up, taking it and putting it in my commuting tote bag this week, because this is what I've been knitting on. And I actually finished the yoke last night. So again, another fingering weight project. I probably shouldn't have picked 2 fingering weight projects, even though there was still a bit of time. I think that's where I went wrong. But So this one, although is knit on larger needles. So the Wilderness, I think, is knit on, excuse me. So the Wilderness is knit on US 4 needles, which again, I completely forgot how many millimeters. Actually, I have my knit kit here. So US 4 are 3.5 millimeters, and as opposed to this one, which is knit on US 8s, which are 5 millimeters. So at a quite airier gauge. And this is the Pretty Basic Ruffle Raglan by Melissa of Homebody Fibers. And I just finished the yoke, so it's pretty, you know, it's pretty scrunched up on the needles. So I'll be separating for the sleeves here. And so this color is called Vintage. This is also Knit Picks palette. So I placed the order for all of this yarn. So it was 10 balls of the Wheat Heather and 4 balls of this one, which is called Victorian. And that was a total of, I want to say like $83, which I think for 2 sweaters, it's a really great price. So again, not a still sustainable, non-superwash, 100% wool yarn, and it is like an Okio-Tex certified yarn, but at a really good price. So this is, again, the color Victorian, and so this was the second, you know, yarn acquisition of the month, although it's all one order. So I just finished the Raglan Increases on this. I'll be splitting for the sleeves, so I want to make sure to get through the body, and then this is due at the very beginning of May, so I'll be able to do the sleeves. It is a short sleeve sweater, and then it has a ruffle detail along the raglan, which I'm really excited to see how it turns out. So I think it'll be a really nice feminine top for spring and summer that I can, you know, dress up and down. So that is that. So that is my second whip, and kind of some of my April plans, I guess, also. So now we're gonna move on to acquisitions, and this part, I think last month we were pretty light on acquisitions. This month we're a little heavy on acquisitions, but part of it was shipping delays, and yeah. So the first one that I'll show you is my woolen twine order. So I will hold it up for you all. This is my order from woolen twine. Let's see. It's so dark today. There we go. That's better. So this is my order from Woolen Twine, and this was the February shop update. Yes, because I ordered these when we were in Savannah. So this is with the February shop update, and I got it mid-March. So I think there were, you know, just some shipping delays with, unfortunately, everything that's going on in Europe right now. But I got 3 skeins of her Corridel sock base and 1 skein of her BFL Massum base. So the first color is Mulberry in the Corridel sock base. Again, this lighting is so horrible today. I'll try to take a picture and insert so you can all see how these show up. And this one is Coral. This one's actually looking a lot better. And then this one is Porridge. Is that focusing? And so I got these as part of my Natural Sock Along sort of plans. I do plan to use all three of these in one pair of socks, although the socks, the main color would be porridge, and then the accent will be coral and mulberry. However, it uses such a little bit amount of your two contrast colors that I will get a full pair of socks out of both of these as well. And then, as I've mentioned in my 2022 plans video, I plan on making the Bits and Bobs socks by, oh my gosh, I'm completely blanking on her name and I apologize, but her Instagram is Shop Knitting Nelly. So I'm planning on making her Bits and Bobs socks with all of my scraps at the end of the year. So that's the sock. And then I got the BFL Massum. And of course now the sun is coming out, so oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I think like the subtitle of this episode is going to be like Mia struggles with lighting. And so this one is called Maple Leaf, the color. And so it's 75% Blue Face Luster and 25% Mid Brown Massum. And it's all sourced and spun in the UK, and then she dyes everything naturally. So all of her yarns are 100% plastic free. She sources from farms and from farms that she knows like the sheep are being treated ethically and all that kind of stuff. So it's a really great, her whole model is really great. And so this was from the February shop update, and the reason I got just one hank is because I actually wanted to just try this yarn before I bought it for a sweater quantity. And so I plan on making I believe, let me check, I have the pattern in my notes. It's the Horforist Hat by Alina Malevich, which is a free pattern on Ravelry, so I plan on making that. It's a DK weight pattern. Just to try this out. I mean, it's already, it's so soft and lovely. I'm really excited. And I did actually just purchase from her limited edition that she had, her 5th limited edition. So hopefully, I did see that it's been dispatched. So we'll see if that will be in time for our next podcast. Let me see. So I talked about knit picks. I talked about wool and twine. And so I'll talk about my blocking mats before I get to the massive yarn order that came from Onarkia for me. So I did get some blocking mats from Knit Picks in my Knit Picks order. So actually, now that I think about it, the $83 was for the whole order. So that means that the blocking mats were, I think, $20. And obviously there's some tax in there. So I think that I probably spent like $60, I should say, on the yarn for the sweaters. So it's probably more like $40 for the Wilderness and $20 for the Pretty Basic Ruffle Raglan. So it's very inexpensive yarn. But I did get some blocking mats. It's a set of 9. Again, very inexpensive. They're $20. This is actually mixed in with some of my older ones. So I already had one set and I really wanted another one. Especially since I've been making a lot of wraps and shawls recently, and the 9 was just not enough, so I really needed more. And when I actually just blocked the latest triangular triangles, I think I used 17 of the 18 that I have. So because it's like a hypotenuse triangle, so it's like, you know, short, long, really long. So just the way that it all laid out, I think I used 17 of them. So definitely a good investment. And there goes my light again. The sun is going behind a cloud. And yeah, I mean, not much to say about them. They're very inexpensive. I've had the first set for many, many years and I love them. Really great quality blocking mats for a really decent price. So yeah, So if you all follow me on Instagram, which if you don't, my Instagram is linked below, you would have seen, just making sure I turn this the right way, and I apologize for anyone who's sensitive to the crinkles, that I posted a picture with this massive bag of Nutiden. So I placed a really big order, which I think I talked about in, sorry, I'm pretty sure I talked about in my last podcast that I was waiting on this yarn. So I placed a really big order, and part of it, I think that in my mind, no, I'll be completely honest. Part of it in my mind, I was like, 1,600 grams of yarn is not that much yarn. I will be completely honest with you and say that. And I was wrong. My order wasn't quite 1,600 grams. That's just like their limit of how much you can put in one order. It was pretty close. I think it was like 1,400. So yeah, so I'll show you what I got. And so part of it was I fell in love with two colors, and so I wanted to make sure I got sweater quantities of both. And if you follow Caroline, you know, like, and the company, you know, their whole philosophy, everything is done in small batches, everything is one of a kind. So each update, if you really like something and you don't get enough, you're not going to be able to get it again, because all of the colors are one of a kind. So I fell in love with two colors, and I got sweater quantities for both. So the one color I can show you up front. The other color I didn't open because, so I essentially got 700 grams of one color and I got 600 grams of the other. And so I'll tell you why. So the first color that I got was Yarnbilia, which is this beautiful, let's see, oh, that's better. It's this beautiful, like, rust pink brown. And this actually reminds me a lot of the Use. So this essentially is kind of like the brown version of Use. Like, I see a lot of the same colors in here with the reds and the yellows and the grays. So I feel like this is like the brown version, with the Use is like the ivory version of this yarn. So I got 700 grams of Yarnbilia. And again, I feel like it's impossible, my lighting, but I think just with their yarns in general, it's like impossible to pick up how beautiful these colors are on camera. So I had 700 grams of this one, and I have two ideas of a sweater that I can make for this. So I got enough. Normally 600 grams is enough for a sweater for me. For a full length sweater. A crop sweater, I can definitely get away with 500 grams or less. But so I got enough yarn for what would be the sweater that would require the most yarn. And then if I choose the other one and I have leftovers, then, you know, I just have leftover yarn. So my first idea for this is the Drop Sweater by Albina McLaughlin. And so that one is a drop shoulder construction sweater, turtleneck, full length. So you'll realize, so the two sweaters I'm thinking about are pretty similar. The second sweater I'm thinking about is sweater number 11 by My Favorite Things. And so again, that's a drop shoulder. Actually, it's a really pretty detail in the shoulder, which actually the drop also does. It has like a ribbing kind of detail, if I recall correctly. But so that one's also a turtleneck drop shoulder sweater. And so I got enough for the drop. So I think that for number 11, I would need 600. But for drop, I would need 700. So I got 700 grams of this one. And then I'm ultimately going to choose. I think I really, really love sweater number 11. and that was kind of my first intention for this yarn. But the one thing that I don't like about the pattern is not really size inclusive. There's only 3 sizes. I think I would make the second size based on my bust and ease that I would like. And then also, you know, Albina just came out with the drop after I had already seen number 11. And they have similar construction, but Albina's is size inclusive. So still mulling around which sweater I'm going to cast on. It's probably going to be a little bit of time before I cast on, unless one day I get like cast-on-itis and I just start casting on projects, which could happen. It smells so good. Would it be an Knit & Grace podcast if I wasn't sniffing yarn? And so the other thing I want to show you before I show you the second color that I got is I got one of these, Caroline calls them Piston Poso bags, and so they're essentially just bags that are only available to patrons of the Patreon, that are filled with different bits and bobs. So this was like all in there, like jam-packed. These are 125 gram bags, and so I apologize for the crinkling, but you know. So in my bag there was actually this small bit of Yarnvelia. And so again, I think like this is why I didn't think I was ordering a lot of yarn, because I really only ordered like the 2 sweater quantities plus the Piston Poso bag. But yeah, so this is a color change, so you can see, and these colors were from, was it the February? Yeah, it had to have been the February, because I think it was the first order that I ordered from them. So it would have been their February collection before I became a patron. And so this was the color Sade, which was completely sold out for the public when I went ahead and did it, or placed my order, which I really love. So I'm really excited that I got a little bit, and there's some more in there. And then the inside color is Tunit, I believe, which is a really pretty green. Then this is another color change, and this is a color change from Vossen to Snow. So you can't really see it on camera, but in person you can see the color change. Which Vossen I do have, I think 500 grams of. And so I actually got a nice little bit of Snow. I can't really, it's essentially, I think it's just snow, right? So, which is the white. So I'm really excited to have some contrast. So now I'm like thinking about all of the colorwork sweaters that I can knit, which is why I'm like, some of these are probably going to change. And so now these colors, I know this is another color change, so you can see it, maybe. You can see the green, there we go, green on the inside, and then the gray on the outside. These were also February, and I think the outside is Betty Toggen, and I forget what the green is called. I should have probably looked all this up. But another color change, so we have Betty Toggen on the inside and Vossen on the outside. This one I'm gonna wait, because that's the one I want to show you what the other color I got is. This one is a color change from this collection, actually. I think so. This is Snow on the inside and Hofta on the outside, which is a really pretty yellow gray. I think I lost something. But this is what I'm really excited about. I actually got a little bit of the Sade. So, that's that. And then the last one that was in this bag was this color change. So this one is a color change from Yarnvelia, which you see in the middle, to Cardigan, which you see on the outside. And the reason why I saved this one for last is because this is the second color that I got. I got two 300 pound, whoa, 300-gram bags of the Harden as well, because I wanted 600 grams. And so I don't want to open them up. So I just want to keep them bagged up until it's time to knit them. But this is Harden, which is Hearth. And this was, Yarnvelia was the first color that she previewed, which I was just like, oh my god, sweater number 11. And then I saw the drop sweater by Lena. I was like, oh my god, the drop sweater. And then I saw Harden and I was like, I was completely 100% planning on only buying one color. And I was just like, I can't not buy both colors. So I bought both colors. And then she did put in a preview color for one of the April colors, which I'm obviously not showing you because that's a preview. So yeah, so she put in a preview for the patrons of that color, which is actually a really, really beautiful color. And now I'm just like, oh, so much yarn, so little time to knit it. So with the Harden, I really don't have a sweater in mind, or I didn't have a sweater in mind when I purchased it. So instead of going with 500, I decided to go with 600, just in case. And so I'm actually thinking of knitting the Stockholm Sweater in Harden, now that I'm like, I've been thinking about what to knit. And also I've been binge watching Crea Bea podcast, Rebecca, and I think she knit the Stockholm, or is knitting the Stockholm, or, but in either case, I started looking at the Stockholm Sweater, which I had already had in my queue for a while, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember. And so that one would be paired with a mohair, so it would be single strand, which means that I would only need 300 grams, which means that then I would have 300 grams to make a shawl. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Instead of holding it doubled on itself, I think that I'm going to search for a good mohair to hold double with it. And that's actually after watching Rebecca's latest podcast. I think she was wearing, if it wasn't her latest one, the one before, she was wearing her sweater number 11. And so I was like, that's kind of where I was like, oh, maybe I'll actually make sweater number 11. Even though I had initially intended to make the drop. Or first had meant to make sweater number 11, then the drop. Now I'm kind of like leaning towards sweater number 11 again. So as I am surrounded by lots and lots of yarn, I think that covers all of that. Trying not to be like that person that acquires lots and lots of yarn. I think with my most recent order of Nutiden, I have to slow down because I don't have space. I live in an apartment and with a husband and 2 cats, and there's just no more space for yarn. So but I'm really happy with my collection right now, and I do have plans to knit all of this down in the near future. So for April, I mentioned my plans for my 2 test knits, and then I really want to just keep it simple. I think that once the knits get too big to commute with, I probably will work out a pair of socks. I haven't worked on a pair of socks since January, so I'll probably work on either a pair or 2 of socks, and then the only other thing that I was thinking of is potentially casting on either a project in Nutiden, either a project in Nutiden or casting on my anchor, which I want to make, which I already have yarn for, that I believe I showed you all in the last podcast. It's the Barocco Remix, which is this one. So even though it's weird weather here because the spring doesn't really happen, so I feel like even though we're in spring heading into summer, I'm kind of like, well, do I knit a spring summer knit when I may or may not be able to wear it for a few weeks, or do I knit with the Nutiden while it's still cold enough for me to knit with it? So I'm kind of torn on that. So we'll see, but the priority are the test knits because those have deadlines. Although Melody of Mandarins recently released, pre-released her tunic, her Plotolope tunic pattern to patrons, and I also have enough yarn for that one, so I wouldn't have to buy any yarn for that one. So yeah. So many plans, so little time. We'll see where all this knitting gets done because work is definitely picking up. But I hope you all had a good March. You're having a good start of your April. I am filming this again on the 1st, right before work. So I need to wrap this up. And so today's a new moon, setting new moon intentions. I'm really excited. I'm going to join Alex of the Ancestral Craft podcast for a new moon knit night that she's having for her patrons today. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, I hope that this video finds you well and you have enjoyed spending some time with me. Of course, these are like the longer videos of the month. I'm not sure what my videos this month are going to be. I'm kind of toying with a few different things. I know that I still owe you guys a vlog. Just work got so crazy that I wasn't able to finish filming because I also threw out my back, which also is actually part of the reason why I had to stop knitting there for like a week. I really hurt my back pretty badly. So I think it was like the second to last week in March. So yeah, so hopefully I'm hoping to finish that vlog. I have a lot of the content already filmed, but I'm hoping to finish that up either this weekend or next, so that you will have it as a bonus for this month. So yeah. I hope that you're all well, you enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely make sure you give it a like and subscribe. I'm so close to 500. I'm really excited. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.